What's up, guys? Welcome back to Double D Report. Me and Dean are back after the first weekend of March Madness. Very, very, very interesting. Some upsets that we're going to talk about. Obviously, we'll touch on other sports, but our main focus today, is March Madness. Dean, I know you had high hopes for a certain conference. Would you like to speak about them?
Yeah, sure. No, I'll gladly speak about them. Very high on the Big East this year. They have won the last 2 years, obviously being UConn has won back-to-back NCAA tournament March Madness for the last 2 years. So I was pretty high on just the Big East in general coming into this, as they are known as a tough, gritty, well balanced and competitive conference that they are, which not a lot of other different conferences can say that. They did have 4 teams in the field, and not one of them made it out of opening weekend. So that is not great. I did have St. John's going to the final. They lost in a very well contested. Yes, I had them winning. They lost a very well contested game to Arkansas Razorbacks and Calipari over there, which was obviously a great game to watch, just being Pitino and Calipari. So that was a fun one. Then the other two that lost, UConn lost a nail biter to number 1 Florida, who is perceived as one of the best in the country, if not the best team in the country. So that was a heartbreaker. Obviously the coach of UConn giving shit to the refs after the game and being his whiny little bitch self. But that's besides the point. He's a very good coach, Hurley, so people give him a little bit of a lapse for that. We could talk about that if you want, but it's, a loss is a loss.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
And then Creighton losing to the number 1 seed Auburn as well in the second round. Marquette, who I was also very high on, had them in my Final Four. They lost the first round to New Mexico. just a very rough going for Big East teams this time around this year, and it's not like they got blown out, because they didn't. None of them got killed in their respective games. A lot of them were nail biters until the last 2-3 minutes of the game. But yeah, this is the year of, I believe, Derek. Is it the SEC or the ACC that has a record-setting 7 teams in the Sweet 16?
The SEC.
Yep. So it's clearly the year of that, and I guess it was about time, right? The Big East has dominated the last 2 years, so I got a little greedy, and I take that price, and I was wrong.
I'm not gonna lie. Don't get me wrong. I did have St. John in my Final Four, but when I saw them get knocked out after you said that they're gonna win the national championship, there was a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. They had a great season. There's nothing against them. It's just they got not outplayed. I feel like more outcoached.
So the big thing with St. John's was, and I do want to preface what Derek said, this is not a failure of a season for them, right? This is their first Big East tournament win. They were Big East champions in over 25 years. This is their first NCAA tournament win in 25 years. So this was a huge step in the right direction for a program that is loved by New Yorkers and loved by Big East fans. So this is definitely a step. And Pitino is under contract for the next 3 years, so he ain't going anywhere. He's going to be recruiting some really good players that want to play for him. So St. John's is going to be back. Don't worry about that. They had a very good year. It just came to a disappointing end in this round of 32. Their biggest issue this year was they did a little bit too much of old school basketball under Pitino, right? They don't shoot the 3 ball pretty much at all. Their main scoring is within the paint, so if you can stop them or limit them within that area, you're going to have a good chance of winning, which is what Arkansas did in this game, and they tried to accomplish, and they did. They went out, set. Calipari knew exactly what Pitino's system is, and he went out there and did the best he could to stop it. So I give him a lot of props there. I think in this upcoming offseason, in this upcoming recruiting class, they have to go out there and get a big-time scorer for that team, especially because the Big East Player of the Year in Lewis Jr. Pitino sat him in the last 5 minutes of the game.
I don't know why.
which, look, he was 3 for 17 in the game. To be fair, however, you don't sit your best player in the NCAA tournament in the last 5 minutes of the game unless there's something that we don't know,
Unless
right?
you're
Unless Patino's an old school coach. Maybe he pissed him off. Maybe he wasn't having the right attitude. Maybe his demeanor was bad on the bench, in the huddle, in the timeouts. We don't know. Right. So I try to give the benefit of the doubt to a coach, especially with how long he's been around and winning 2 NCAA tournaments. So there was mistakes on my end for picking these teams. Hopefully I'll get a second chance when we get to the Final Four and we do our predictions when the teams are set. But for now, I will take the L. I will do a little thumbs down. Yep, I suck.
For once, I did pretty good. Besides St. John, I did pretty good. Obviously, Auburn, they did their thing. I believe you were saying that you thought they were going to lose.
Whoa.
No, not in the first round. Not in the first round. I didn't say in the first round. In the second round, I think you said they would lose either in the round of 32 or like later on.
I said, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. If they make it past the Sweet 16, I'm definitely wrong. I thought they were the weakest number 1 seed in the field.
Yeah.
That was my opinion. And in the round of 32, they're going to have a tough match. I mean, in the Sweet 16, they're going to have a tough matchup. They're going against Michigan, who is clicking at the right time. So there's a chance there for me to still be right. Am I looking wrong so far? Yes. This is just the tournament from hell.
Your bracket that you made is like fuck.
Oh, God. I threw that out after day 1.
One team that screwed everyone's bracket, McNeese.
Yes.
We got to talk about that team. No one expected McNeese. I think even when we were going through it, we'd even look at the game.
Yeah, one of our points, Derek, me and you, was that this could be the year of the 12 seed. Me and you both predicted 12 seeds to win over 5s. McNeese was not on our radar, by the way.
No.
It was not one of those teams. Colorado State, however, was, and they did win. And they lost in the round of 32 in an absolute, the best game of the tournament, by the way, to Maryland. Buzzer beat, hitting a 3 to take the lead with 3 seconds left, and then Maryland buzzer beatering it to win. Unbelievable.
Very
but yes,
call, though. Very good.
We will talk about that a little bit, but McNeese is a great story just because right before the tournament started, literally an hour before tip-off, their coach announced that he will be leaving, and he accepted a job to NC State. Which is wild, right? So it was more or less a send-off to a program that he kind of built, and they played hard for him in round 1. They took it right to a Clemson team that a lot of people thought were going to be very good and move far in this tournament, and Clemson wound up choking. Obviously, McNeese lost in the second round to Purdue, but still, you have to give that a good
spanked against Purdue. That was bad.
Yeah.
Oh my fuck!
But I know Derek wanted to touch on the Colorado State Maryland game.
Yes. So obviously, great game. My eyes were literally. I wasn't watching. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't watching on my TV. I was watching on my phone. My eyes were glued to my phone watching that game. But the shot. I gotta ask you. Do you think that was a travel?
No. I don't want to hear. Look, I don't want to hear these arguments because in the last 3 seconds of a game, when you know a buzzer beater is about to happen, he would have had to have taken no dribbles for the refs to call a travel. You never in a million years call a travel in that situation.
I don't go. It was a travel, Dean.
It doesn't matter, Derek. Sure, he took one too many steps, right? But in that situation, could you imagine being the ref and calling a travel there?
It happens in the Super Bowl.
You just don't. First, you just don't do it. You just don't do it. There was no ref in this world that would have called a travel in that situation in the NCAA tournament when a buzzer beater is about to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Don't get me wrong. Insane shot, by the way. Insane shot.
It was.
Off
the
1
3
foot.
Before it was great, too.
Yeah. When I saw the 3, I was like, oh my God. Another upset.
The thing with this one was Maryland, their last 4 losses were to buzzer beaters. So Maryland almost they almost deserved this one,
Yes.
if that made sense, right? It was almost as if the universe was trying to give them just a little something back, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're blessing him, I'd say.
That was by far the best game of the tournament so far. Just back-to-back lead changes within 10 seconds of the game closing out. That's what March Madness is all about. I did want to ask you something, Derek,
Okay,
right?
I'm here.
This tournament we're going into the Sweet 16, and quite literally the lowest seed remaining is a 10 seed. Are you disappointed that there aren't more Cinderella stories in this
Oh, very
tournament than there
extremely.
in your
Oh,
yeah?
extremely. That's what I love. Like I think was it 2 years ago or was it a year ago? It was Loyola
It was
Chicago, who
it
was
was a
in
couple of years.
yeah, who was in the Final Four. They ended up going
Yep,
to the Final Four. Like those stories are insane to see. You love to see them, but not seeing them, it's like all right, the best teams are just beating down on the worst teams. I like to see all these like a 16th seed or a 15th seed knock out a second seed. It's
of
happened
course.
before, or even see Kentucky get knocked out.
And you're forgetting about last year too. 11 seed NC State making it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Losing, but making it to the Final Four, which is what March is about. I just think I'm a little disappointed that one you hit on it. Not one seed or two seed lost so far. Um. So that's. I mean, obviously, then St. John's. I'm saying in the first round. That was my point here, which is obviously disappointing because usually there is one of those seeds that's a huge upset where a 15 seed wins or a 16 seed is won in the past. So definitely a little underwhelming, I would say. I think it's also just a testament to maybe how top heavy the NCAA was this year, right? No teams below a 10 below a 10 making it to the Sweet 16 is kind of crazy. And the 110 seed who made it, people have argued they should have been a lot higher of a seed under Calipari. So yeah, I just think this has been a very so far at least, and there's good competition to come. But so far, I think it's just been a disappointing tournament where there hasn't been a lot of excitement.
Yeah. I 100% agree, and don't get me wrong, I did have this team to win to win the championship, Duke, but it's kind of insane to see when they cover the 40-point spread that they had.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna look at that too much just because it's a one versus a 16, right? The other one versus 16s, it was a 20-point win by Auburn, 26-point win by Florida, a 38-point win by Houston. So that's not too crazy. The crazier part is in the second round against 9 Baylor, they won by 23.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it.
I mean, look, maybe Duke is just that team of destiny where they're just that good and nobody's going to beat them. They have a decently tough matchup in the 16 against for Arizona. So, but even in that game, which is crazy to think, there's still 8.5 point favorites going into it.
Which is insane.
Look, I'm hoping this is not going to. So far, it's been very chalk when it comes to the bracket. There's obviously been a couple of 12 seeds that we've mentioned who have moved on. There was, if I remember correctly, there was one 11 seed in Drake that moved on, but then got spanked against Texas Tech in the second round. So a lot of chalk so far, and it's not the worst thing in the world just because of that talent level. However, I think just for the feel good story, we always want more Cinderella stories.
Yeah. And a lot of people actually had Brian to be a massive Cinderella story this year, which I saw on a bunch of like things on social media. Even I said it. I thought for some reason I thought Bryant was gonna win, but then you see Michigan State come out there and they just unleash unholy hell on that team.
Yeah, that wasn't even close. I mean, that's another 25-point win, and that's another one of my two seeds that I said is probably the weakest in the field in Michigan State. They won by 8 against New Mexico, so they handled their business. They're gonna have a tough time against Ole Miss, who seems to be unstoppable to start this tournament, which is weird. They kicked the shit out of Iowa State in the second round. Um, so hopefully that'll be a good matchup. I did want to ask you, Derek, out of all the Sweet 16s, there is a lot of chalk. There's a lot of 1v4s. There's quite a few 3v2s or 6v2s here. Which matchup intrigues you the most? Or are you looking forward to the most where maybe a 1 seed is in trouble, or maybe 10 seed Arkansas or 7 seed, or or one of those teams can make it into the Elite Eight.
I have a couple of them. Actually, if by looking at it, like the Sweet 16 is actually very good this year. 'Cause it's
It
all
is.
good. It's all good teams.
It's
I'm
chalk. Yeah.
I'm gonna give my top three.
Okay.
So at the number one spot, Kentucky versus Tennessee. That's gonna be a very good game. Very high-powered offenses and great coach teams going against each other. Both an SEC matchup too. So that's gonna be a very good game. Another one, Purdue versus Houston. Houston is like one of those is a basketball school. They're a heavy in basketball, and as is Purdue. And we just saw what Purdue did to McNeese. So obviously they just beat down a bad team, but they're going to go against a very good team, the number one team to be exact. So it's going to be a tough matchup for them, but it's going to be a very good game. And probably number three would be Maryland versus Florida. Obviously, because of how Maryland's last game ended, I want to see how they're going to bounce going against what people are saying the best team.
This is true. No, I agree with a lot of your games. I'm going to make a couple of bold predictions.
Okay.
If you're ready for this, right?
I'm ready.
I have been horrible so far this tournament.
Oh yeah, you've been god awful.
So I'm looking to redeem myself, and our editor is going to put them in. It's going to be stamped all over, and you can roast me again next week if it happens to be the way it's going this tournament. But I'm going to make a couple of bold predictions, all right? So this one's not bold in my eyes, just because I predicted it last week. I think Ole Miss beats Michigan State. I think Michigan State's tournament is over. They will be another 2 seed that is out of it. I don't think they're that good. I think Ole Miss is clicking at the right time, beating number 3 Iowa State last week handedly by 13 points. I think Michigan State is just going to be outmatched, and I think that's the way that one's going to go. I don't think that's a bold pick. I just wanted to put that out there because I'm going to stick with Michigan State being fraudulent. I'm going to stick with it until it doesn't come true.
Okay.
Secondly, this one you can put as a little bit bold. I think Arkansas wins again. I think they beat number 3 Texas Tech. I think they continue to dance. Calipari is that one of those coaches that he's been here before. He has all the experience in the world. Texas Tech has played nobody so far. They played UNC Wilmington and Drake, right? Their competition has not been great. Meanwhile, Arkansas had to beat Kansas and then St. John's. I got Arkansas moving on to the Elite Eight. And then one more bold thing.
Oh, God.
It's not, so I want to preface, it's not bold, but I think my prediction is in this round, 2 number 1 seeds will lose. 2. And I'm going to make both predictions right now. I think Auburn and Houston both lose.
Okay. I thought you were
And that is
I swear to God, I thought you were about to say Duke. I was about to punch you
No,
through the screen.
no. I don't think Duke loses to Arizona. I think Arizona puts up a good fight, but I think Duke is just a much better team at this stage. My 2 prediction, I'm going to say 2 number 1 seeds lose in the Sweet 16. I'm going Auburn losing to Michigan, and I'm going to go Houston, another failed season, losing to Purdue.
The fucking crazy thing is, I agree with you, man. I really do think Auburn is going to lose. I don't know why. Obviously Michigan is like one of those teams to where like you don't expect them. They'll be like a number like 6 seed, number 4 seed. They'll go against the best team and then they'll end up beating them.
Yeah, look, they played a really good game against Texas A&M, and Texas A&M was pretty like coveted going into this tournament as the 4 seed. They beat them by 12. Like Michigan had it going in, like it was a close game until the final 6-7 minutes of that, and Michigan just pulled away, nice and easy. Like, look, and I'm not taking away anything from Auburn because Auburn handled Creighton, right? They handled their business in the round of 32. I'm not even going to mention the first round because a 16 seed, who gives a shit? But they handled Creighton very well, won by 12 points. I just think, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I said this in the last podcast too. I think Auburn's the weakest 1 seed. You roasted me a little bit for it, and that's okay. I could be wrong. They could fucking spank Michigan this upcoming week, right? They could absolutely demolish them, take down their pants, take a paddle, and just beat the living crap out of them. It's possible. It's possible, right? They're also 8.5 point favorites. So we'll see.
That's the one thing I don't get is I don't see how Auburn is 8.5 point favorites in this game because Michigan. How I see it, obviously, I'm not Vegas. I don't control the lines or anything like that. But you gotta base I don't see how they're not basing it off of how they're playing in the tournament. Like Michigan, in my opinion, obviously they versed harder teams than
They
Auburn.
have. Texas A&M was a tough team.
Yeah, and they beat them by 12. So I think that the spread should be a little closer, but obviously the one seed plays a massive factor in everything.
Of
Which,
course. And to your point, if I'm looking not even just losing right outright, which I think Auburn will do, that's probably my bet of the week. Michigan plus 8.5. I think even if they lose Michigan, it's going to be a close game.
that'll be pretty good actually.
I think so. I mean, to your point, and it's kind of shocking, right? Houston is a minus 7.5 favorite, so another one seed at 7.5 over Purdue, and Florida, the biggest not the biggest not favorite in the one seeds. They're only favored by 6.5 over Maryland. So look, I mock them every time, but clearly Vegas knows stuff that we don't.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take the I'm gonna take the lines with a grain of salt.
Yeah, that's fair. And who Purdue? You said Purdue and Houston. You think Purdue's gonna win?
I do. I think Houston will be the other one seed that will fall within this round. I think Florida and Duke are the only ones going to make it out of this. And I do want just a little, insurance policy on my end. I said 2 1 seeds aren't going to make it out. So you know what? If 2 1 seeds lose, I'm going to still count myself as right.
No, you said
Yes.
Purdue.
You could. Okay, how about this? 2 out of 3 1 seeds are going to lose. Duke is going to move on.
so,
So,
your consensus
so
is Duke is gonna win.
Duke is going to win. Absolutely. So between Florida, Houston, and Auburn, 2 out of 3 of those are going to lose.
No, it'd be so funny. All the teams they use, everyone wins besides Duke.
It's possible, man. That's how my tournament has gone so far. I've made some pretty horrific Final Four takes.
Yeah, Marquette and Marquette wasn't a bad one. I'm not gonna roast you for Marquette because I think that was a pretty good one in my opinion.
I had to go a bold one. I did not expect this tournament to be as chalk as it has been, right? Where there's just not a lot of parity going into the Sweet 16. I mean, other than the 10 seed, the lowest seed is a 6. So it's kind of ridiculous if you want my opinion. The one team that I do really like that's remaining, other than Duke, which I had my Final Four, I love Tennessee, and I think they're going to beat Kentucky pretty handedly as well. But that's not a bold take. It's a 2 versus 3. It should be a good game. But I do see Tennessee moving on. They're probably going to be my pick moving forward as we go into this tournament.
Another team. Oh, I think this might be a bold prediction. I think Alabama, an SEC team, is going to fall to BYU.
Wow, that's a bold prediction, Derek.
I don't know why. Obviously, BYU has had not the easiest way there, but I think that Alabama is gonna. I don't know why. It's like one of those matchups where you go into and you're like this. All right, this team is gonna lose. Like as what I said before with the let me just double check what game it was with the Purdue or Houston game. I think they could one team or Michigan Auburn. Michigan they have the team to beat them. If they have the team to beat them, if they're just coached right and make key stops during the game, they're gonna win that game. That's what I think for BYU. Good coach team, good players surrounded around the team, and Alabama. I'm not saying they're due for a big time loss, but I think it's going to happen. Honestly, I can see BYU actually covering the spread too.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. The Mormons of BYU will be beating Bama this upcoming week.
I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. I'll say, I'm actually very proud of myself that my bracket's doing pretty good.
Your
I'm not.
bracket's doing all right. I mean, look, you still have your final
Yeah,
intact, which is a big part of this.
yeah. My final is perfectly intact right now, unless one of the one seeds falls. Otherwise, I'm fucked. I realize this. And I think none of us had a 2 seed in our Final Four. No,
Not true.
not no,
Tennessee,
not a 3 seed. I think it is because is Tennessee's a 2 seed, right?
Tennessee is a 2.
Yeah, I think we only did 1 2s, and then you did the Marquette one.
Yeah, I didn't take a 3.
You had Florida.
I had Florida, Duke, St. John's, and then my bold one was Marquette, which was 7.
Yeah, and I had Duke, Auburn, Purdue. Oh wait, no, I had Purdue. Never mind. I had
Well,
Purdue.
Purdue's a 4.
Yeah, well, that's even worse. That's even crazy.
None of us had a 3 seed.
Yeah, none of us had a 3 seed.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't. I think we talked. The 3 seeds weren't too special coming into this year. I think. I mean, out of the remaining, there's 2 of them, which it's between Kentucky and Texas Tech. Kentucky's probably a little bit better um, than Texas Tech, and Texas Tech has a little bit easier of a game just because they're going against Arkansas, who was ranked 10. So I mean, but I could see a world where both 3 seeds are gone after this round.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I hope this. I want the Sweet 16 to make it a little spicy in the tournament now. Cause like we've had blend, as what we both said, it's been chalk this entire tournament. See, like if Arkansas wins this week, or Ole Miss beats Michigan, or Michigan beats Auburn, those like we want to see like those like big upset, not like upsets, but like big like wins that no one expects.
We look the bottom line. We don't want 4 number 1 seeds in the Final
Yeah,
4.
that'll blow.
Nobody wants that. That sucks. That sucks. I want a 10 seed to make it there, just out of pure fucking Cinderella. I want Ole Miss, who nobody thought was going to be much going into this tournament, to make it there. That would be fun, right? You get to root for a team that actually overcame a lot of obstacles and beat a lot of good teams in order to get there, right? 1 seeds is not. It's not fun. It's just chalk.
Yeah. Well, we before we move on from the March Madness, I do want to go back and speak about that UConn game. One question I have to ask for you, and then you could go in depth into how you feel about the coach and him
Yep.
complaining.
Yep.
Would you consider this an upset in a way because they're the defending champs, or because Florida's the 1 seed, it's not an upset?
I don't think it was an upset. This UConn team was definitely a lot weaker than the last 2, back-to-back champions. So that there's no question regarding that. UConn didn't even make it to the final in the Big East tournament, so they weren't playing great going into it to begin with. So this is definitely not an upset. Sure, it's the defending champion, and that's going to be the storyline there. But especially going against a 1 seed, a legitimate 1 seed, where Florida has been over the last month about the best in the nation, if not top 2, next to Duke. So I don't see this as an upset in what way. I do see it as a team with the heart of a champion in UConn, giving it till the very buzzer, only losing by 2 here, right? Against a 1 seed in Florida. That's how I look at it. They gave it everything they had. Yes, Dan Hurley complained about the refs consistently, but he always does that. He's never going to change, ever. And he's a 2-time defending champion. So you know what? You can't really hate too much on him. And no. So the easy response is no. I don't think this was an upset. UConn wasn't great in the Big East this year either. They were mid. I believe they finished 4th in the Big East. So, or maybe even 5th. So, no, this is not an upset whatsoever.
All right, that's fair to say. And would you say this is, well, obviously, I want to hear your opinion on, do you think he had the right, obviously, we kind of went into it, of him having the right to complain about the calls consistently, like he did in that game, or you think he was like a little bit like over, like exaggerating?
It's tough. So, if anybody watched the game, this was a horrifically reffed game on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
It was really bad, right? There was a lot of missed calls. There was a lot of overcalling. The refs, it was a patented ref show where there were a ton of calls that shouldn't just play on, let it go, let it be done with, just let the kids play, right? So I understand his point of view where he's saying the refs blew the game for him. But you can look on the flip side. There was a lot of calls that didn't go Florida's way either, right? Would I have loved to have seen the refs maybe let them play and let's see how the game goes out, just two teams battling back and forth? Absolutely. Does that change the outcome? I don't think so. I still think Florida comes out of this game a winner, regardless of what the refs were able to do. So it's annoying to hear, him constantly complain about the refs. Was it warranted? Yeah, a little bit. If you watch the game, the refs really did make some pretty horrific calls in that one. But you lost. You're back-to-back champion. You lost. Let the tournament go on. Go home. Go on to a vacation. You're one of the highest paid coaches in the game. Just fucking go to like Bora Bora or something and have a good vacation. Have a good summer.
This might be extremely hot take by me, which I'm due for these. I love doing these. But I don't like him at all because, in my opinion, I think he's pretty arrogant in a way.
Definitely, he's definitely arrogant.
So I'm so happy Florida beat them. But the calls, that's the one thing I want to preface on. Like as you said, you gotta let him play. This is the thing that pisses me off with sports. You gotta, especially when you're young and you're in college years, let them play. Let them decide the game. Don't have the game go down to, shooting foul or a charging ball turnover. It's annoying. I get it. It's how the game is supposed to be played. But I feel like that in the playoffs and tournaments, everything should be a little loosened, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Not obviously the rules, but loosen the restrictions on some calls.
And I think it will as the tournament goes on when the spotlight gets higher and higher, right? As soon as we get to the Elite Eight, they're going to pick the best crews to man these games, and the NCAA is going to tell them, let the boys play. If it's an egregious foul, call it. If it's not, if it's questionable, any questionable calls, just let it play on. And I think that's fine. You definitely don't want to get shit wrong, which is why they've implemented all these review rules, which is nice. Like if there's bunch of different turnovers or who the ball was off going out of bounds, that's fine. But in terms of, like you said, charging calls, calls beyond the 3-point arc, just if it's close, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one's air of caution that I would go towards that.
Yeah. And Dean, I'm only asking you because I don't need to do this. If you could recreate your Final Four from this round, what would it be?
Great question. So I'm left with the Sweet 16 teams, is what you're saying?
Yes, you're left with the Sweet 16 teams. I'll replace one team because I obviously lost St. John.
Yeah,
so
that's
I'll replace my one team.
Okay, I'm assuming you're going to replace them with Florida, but that's fine. I'm going to stick with Tennessee and Duke on those two sides of the bracket. I'm a huge Tennessee guy. I'm actually going to switch it up and say Tennessee beats Duke in the Final Four, and I think Tennessee wins the whole damn thing now. So that's where I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to stick with this until otherwise stated. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go. My new champion is going to be Tennessee. Just wanted to put that out there. But the two teams that lost, if I had to choose, the Marquette bracket, which is the South, out of the 4 teams remaining in that bracket, I'm going to take Ole Miss to make it to the Final Four, beating Michigan State, and then beating Auburn or Michigan in the Elite Eight. And then in the other bracket with St. John's, which is the West, I'm going to go a little bit of chalk here. I'm going to go Florida.
Oh my God. Okay. I can't.
So my Final Four is going to be now Ole Miss, Florida, Duke, Tennessee. Florida versus Tennessee. Tennessee winning.
Oh my God, I hate you. I actually hate you.
I mean, look, I already suck ass to begin with, so I might as well keep sticking with bold.
You're just nuking it. You're literally nuking your bracket.
Nuking it. I said since the beginning that I liked Tennessee. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, but okay. I need to erase that from my mind because I can't believe you think Tennessee is going to beat Duke. But don't get me wrong, Tennessee's a great team.
And Florida.
Yeah, egregious, by the way. I think that obviously my replacement for St. John will be Florida because I did say that St. John would beat Florida to get to that point. But because it would be Florida versus who would be? Would it be the South?
Yeah, you took Auburn.
Yeah. So I would take Florida will beat Auburn.
Okay.
Because I feel like I think they versed each other this year and Florida did win.
Fair enough. Are you sticking with Duke as your champion?
Of course I am.
Okay.
Yes, I see Duke winning still because
Okay.
I don't see a
That's
team
fine.
better
You,
than
you
them.
can stick with it. I'm not. There's no peer pressure here. You can stick with it if you
I
want.
I just can't believe you said Tennessee will beat.
I like Tennessee a lot. I
No,
think they're.
they're a great
I
team.
think honestly, I think they should be the favorite coming out of the Midwest. I don't think Houston should be the favorite out of these last four teams.
I
My
uh,
opinion. That's just my opinion. They could look. The Sweet 16 is coming up, and I suck ass so far this tournament. They could get blown out against Kentucky, and then you can roast me next week again.
I think if Purdue, I'm saying this. I think if Purdue wins, I think Purdue will be favored over over Tennessee. But hey, that's a bold prediction, I guess.
Okay.
Oof. Well, obviously, everyone next this upcoming Thursday and Friday is the Sweet 16. Saturday and Sunday is the Elite Eight,
Mhm.
and the week following, I think it's Saturday and Sunday. It's the Final Four, and then
I don't know the exact timeline, but I know you're definitely right. You're definitely on the ball.
and then Monday will be the national championship. So everyone, lock in, pay attention to your fucking screens, and watch some college basketball. Have fun, drink a beer, smoke, have fun. But
Sure.
for now, we gotta move on from this for a little bit,
Woohoo.
and we're gonna go on to baseball. Obviously, me and Dean being Yankee fans, this upcoming week is kind of a little brutal for us because we're not the
Yep.
happiest campers in the world. But it's baseball. We're positive. We're happy. It's one of the best times of year. Dean, opening week is about to kick off. Anything you're excited? Any games you're excited about? Any teams you're excited to see how they're going to start off? Let's hear it.
So, for anybody who doesn't know, Thursday this week, baby, is opening day. Hopefully, we'll have the video out before then, or at least during that day, so you get to watch us and feel free to enjoy our insights or our stupidity. However, Thursday's opening day. First game going into the new year will be the New York Yankees against the Milwaukee Brewers. That will be the first game at 3 o'clock. Kind of sucks being 3 o'clock on a Thursday because, most of the United States population is working. And if you're not working, I envy you. So I'll probably be, watching on and off on the TV or at the very least listening on the radio to a new play caller because Sterling has obviously retired now. So yes, definitely looking forward to it. There is one particular, so there's a lot of great games. There's a lot of great matchups, right? I think the Yankees versus Milwaukee is a very good matchup to start. I think Boston versus Texas is a very good matchup to begin the year. Atlanta, San Diego, another good matchup. The list goes on. So I don't want to go into every matchup. There is one pitching matchup that I want to discuss that I think is top tier against top tier. And everybody knows this opening day, that's when you start your ace. Or if your ace isn't available, you start the next man up, right? Garrett calls the Yankees ace. He's not available. Yankees are starting Carlos Rodon. That's how this stuff works. You always start the ace opening day. That's how this shit happens. So, game one of the most, by the way, of the most underwhelming game of the day,
Oh god.
I think is the best pitching matchup
Oh god.
of the day. Pittsburgh Pirates against the Miami Marlins. Paul Skeens against Sandy Alcantara. Two heavyweight battles going at it. 100 miles per hour. Nasty fucking shit. These two are arguably the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Obviously, Paul Skeens coming off of his Rookie of the Year and second in the Cy Young voting. Sandy coming off Tommy John, but the year before that, he won the Cy Young. These are two elite pitchers, young pitchers for horrible organizations.
Which is insane. Get him away. Free them.
Horrific organizations. But if you're going to look at a bright spot, right, that's your bright spot. You're going to watch two pitchers go at it. And it's going to be awesome to watch. That's one game that I'm going to look forward to extensively. And don't get me wrong, if you look at all the matchups, because it is usually ace versus ace, as we discussed, there are a lot of good pitching matchups. But this one just caught my eye because not a lot of people are going to watch it because it's fucking Pittsburgh versus Miami.
Yeah.
which is a shame because if you have a moment to tune it on, these two pitchers are fun to watch and they're great at what they do and they're young and both, by the way, could be in different teams in the next 2 or 3 years. So if you're a team looking for trading, maybe do some scouting.
I wouldn't be. This might be. Listen, I don't think this is bold. I wouldn't be surprised if Sandy is gone this year.
I wouldn't be shocked either. At the trade deadline, he would be one hell of an acquisition for any team that needs a pitcher. Me and Derek are obviously Yankee fans, so he's definitely on the top of our wish list. It would cost a lot. It's going to cost a lot for any team to go after him because the Marlins are going to take a heavy package for that guy who has another 3 years of control, mind you. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm glad that he's back on the mound because he is one of the best pitchers in the game, if not the best pitcher in the game before he got injured. So, going to be really tuned into that game, Skeens against Alcantara. I'm looking forward to it personally. So that's one of the pitching matchups that I'm really looking forward to, Derek.
Yeah, with that game too, I'm also very excited to see. Obviously, Paul Skeens brought it down spring trading to see his new pitches, which I believe is the sinker and the cutter. Which, mind you, a man throwing a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, a 90-mile-per-hour slider, and then a fucking like 101 cutter is fucking insane. That should be illegal.
It really should be.
But it's gonna be cool to see how Skeens does. Because I believe he had a .96 ERA last year.
Nope. What are you, fucking stupid?
Which is fucking insane. And he didn't play the entire year. He came, I believe it was 2 months into the year.
He played 2/3 of the year.
So obviously it wasn't like a full year. This is his first full year of baseball, and he's obviously starting the biggest game of the year, opening day, for them.
Yeah, it should be a great one. I obviously everybody's happy that baseball's back, so I think we're all feeling that. It's great to see. Just to give, because I know our editor is gonna do it to you, Derek. Skeens had a 1.96 ERA last year, so not below a 1, but below a 2, which is still crazy. But I had to because our editor is gonna roast you.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm expecting it.
So I had to help you out on that one. But yes, there's going to be a lot of good games. We're going to talk about it. This is only the first week of the season. This is going into the weekend series. So 162 games, everybody. A lot of baseball coming in at you. It's going to get even more exciting when NBA and NHL goes away. So this is going to be the only sport come summertime, which is the best time because they own that brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to a lot of these games. I think it's going to be a good one. I hope no injuries, obviously, coming into this year for all of these teams, especially opening weekend. You want everybody to be happy and healthy going to the season, best foot forward. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna before we even move a little bit past this and go into a segment. I do want to bring up this very important game to most fans, most Yankee fans actually. It's not the Yankee game. It is the Mets. I think a lot of Yankee fans and a lot of fans around the world are going to tune in to see Juan Soto play for the Mets in his first game in the orange, which, mind you, irks me to even say this. But it's a huge fucking game. He's the highest, correct me if I'm wrong, he's one of the highest paid players in the league.
Next to Shohei Ohtani.
So it's going to be a big game. It's going against a very good pitcher, a lefty pitcher, Valdez.
Yep, Framber Valdez, Houston. Personally, I'll be rooting for the Mets. I
hate Houston.
I'm one of those Yankee fans. The Mets don't bother me. Houston does.
Yeah. No. This is the one game to where I would root for the Mets purely because I hate Houston. Because fuck Houston.
Yeah. Also wanted to give a quick shout out, Derek. My boy Luis Severino got the opening day nod to start for the Oakland Athletics. He got his bag this offseason. He will be starting opening day. Want to give him a lot of props. He's been through so many injuries throughout his career. He finally had a very good year last year with the Mets. Got compensated for it, got rewarded for it with Oakland. They're obviously going to be playing in a minor league ballpark, which sucks. But I hope the best for him. I hope he kicks ass. I'm very proud of him for being an opening day starter because he deserves it.
Yeah, for especially what he's been through in his career. Good for him.
Yeah.
So, Dean, moving on from this, we're going to move on to...
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Mailbag! Woo! It's mail time, everybody. Yay! Okay, so we have 2 questions this week. I want to thank both parties. We got their names. I know last week there was an anonymous person. We're still not roasting you. We got 2 names this week, 2 different towns. One local here in the Northeast, which is always nice to see, and then one out in the Midwest. Good for you, buddy. I hope you're staying warm. Derek, which one do you want to go to first? Midwest boy or Northeast boy?
Midwest boy.
Okay, we're gonna go to Midwest boy. Let me pull it up here really quickly, just so I have it. Okay, it is Brody. Brody, Derek, from Alexandria, Minnesota.
You love to see it.
Brody, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you sending over this question. Love the name, by the way, in Minnesota. Alexandria, TV show, Walking Dead, whatever. I'm not gonna fanboy. Hope it's nice. Hope it's nice and warm up there. But we do need to get into the question, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
As always, gonna ask you first. Feel free to rebuttal. Feel free to ask me back. However you want to work it. Derek and Dean, long time. Going to stick with the MLB here as we get started this year, and opening day is upcoming. Are the Rangers, the Texas Rangers are the Texas Rangers not getting talked about enough as World Series contenders? Do you think they should be World Series contenders? Do you think that the non-hype is warranted?
Okay. And this obviously this question is for both of us, so we're both
for both. Yep.
But I remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago or a week ago, you indeed state that you thought that they were going to go to the World Series, and I believe you said they were going to win the World Series.
I did indeed.
So I do agree. I do think that they're very hidden this year, because they did win the World Series 2 years ago.
Yep.
That is huge. But last year, they had a plunder, I'd say. And they obviously injury bugs, DeGrom.
Stop yawning, you fuck.
Shut up. Injury bugs and a bunch of other things that went on in the farm system that obviously didn't help them throughout the season. So, I do think they're very hidden this year. Should they get recognized? 100%. 100%. Yeah. You can't. That team is especially acquiring, because correct me if I'm wrong, they acquired Jock Peterson.
Yep.
Which is a huge asset for the hitting standpoint, and their pitching has always been good. So, Adolis, Simeon, Jock, those are huge. That's huge, top 3. To even just that's only a little bit. I see them, after hearing Dean's thoughts, and I hate to fucking agree with him, I do think that they shouldn't be spoke about more, because they do have a high chance of winning the World Series, or going to the World Series, to be a fact.
Yeah, so the answer is 100% unequivocally yes. They are. It's kind of bullshit, if you want my opinion, that they're not getting talked about in World Series discussions for multitude of reasons. One being the AL is by far the weaker conference. Not to mention, their division in particular got a lot worse. In Houston is no longer the team that they used to be. Seattle, everybody always talks about every year, and they do nothing every single year, right? So that alone, I mean, Seattle's probably their biggest threat within the division, and I don't think Seattle is even close to the Texas, skill set. And then who else is in the division? The Angels and the Athletics? I mean, please, yawn, fuck off, bitch. Are you kidding me? So it's actually kind of annoying that the Texas Rangers have not been in more discussions. They had a lot of injuries last year. Seager is a huge part of that lineup, and he had some injury woes. Adolis had some major injury woes. Their pitching staff definitely took a big hit. They're getting back a huge piece in DeGrom this year if he could stay healthy. They brought back Evaldi, which you know what you're getting from him. You know, a World Series caliber pitcher who's going to eat innings and who's going to give you consistency. They went out there and signed Tyler Mahle. So this is a team that only improved from last year. Yes, they had a stumble. They missed the playoffs after winning the World Series. They had that World Series drought, right? They had that hangover that everybody talks about. But I think it is utterly absurd that they are not at least top 2 in the AL to come out of the AL. I think it's ridiculous, if you want my honest opinion. So, yes, I think they're not being talked about enough. Derek is 100% correct. I predicted them not only to come out of the AL, I predicted them to win the World Series again this year. Health issues bearing. There's always a little asterisk.
If DeGrom has an arm.
If there's a lot of factors. Evaldi's getting older. DeGrom is constantly, jerking it hard with his elbow. So you got to work on this shit, and I hope they do stay healthy, because if they stay healthy, I don't think a team is good enough to stop them, at least right now on paper within the AL. I think the two closest are the Yankees and the Red Sox. I don't think anybody within the AL Central, in my opinion, could compete with them. Kansas City's definitely a good team. They're up and coming. They're young, but I don't think they're on Texas level. Same thing with Detroit. Up and coming, young team. Don't think they're on the level of Texas. So, yes, that's my emphatic answer is yes. They should be talked about more. I don't know why they're not. And there is actually one more thing that I wanted to mention with them, just to enhance the stupidity of why they're not being talked about within World Series and all that type of stuff. The Texas Rangers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th. 10th best odds in the league.
What are their odds?
Plus 2,500. Anybody listening? Take the bet. It's gonna give you dividends come the postseason. That's just absolutely ridiculous. They have the Yankees over them. Fine. We'll give it a pass. They have the Red Sox over them. Fine. I did say those are the two teams that are at least should be competing. And then they have Houston over them. Fuck off. Just straight on. No explanation needed. Just fuck off.
Fuck off.
I don't want to like Houston. Just fucking die already.
They will this season when they don't make the playoffs and all Yankee fans are happy and throwing a little parade. It'll be nice. Yeah, you're 100% right. Like, the overall, like, the consensus on it's like they're very underappreciated. And, like, I didn't realize it until you said it, because last year they had a stinker. That's it. They had a stinker. And now going back into it, DeGrom coming back, Evaldi, all the siding Jock, Adolis, Sibian. The team is very good. Has a very, very good chance of taking the AL.
I think people are just looking too much into last season, right? And you also have to remember they have young players. Josh Jung, probably going to be one of the best young hitters in the game, right? You have two pitchers who can work out. They may not, but they could. They're at the top of the leaderboards in terms of prospect pools for pitching, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. So even if one of them works out, that's a huge boost and bolster to your starting pitching rotation. So I hope that answered your question, Brody. We thank you for it. Definitely take Texas plus 2,500.
I might take
that. Is a beautiful bet to take for anybody listening.
I might fucking take that shit.
You should. But we thank you, Brody.
Thank you, Brody.
Derek, would you like to get into the second question now?
Of course I would.
It is staying within the baseball realm, which is nice. Opening day, I think it's fitting, if you ask my opinion. We're going to go to the Northeast guy. It is in New Jersey, if anybody's a native within this area. It is from Wildwood, New Jersey, which I don't believe we've had any New Jersey people as of yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Derek.
No, we've had Nikki from the Bronx, and that's the closest we've got.
I agree, right? So we have Jalen, I believe. Yes, Jalen from Wildwood, New Jersey. Welcome to the podcast, Jalen. How are you doing today?
What's up, Jalen?
Cool. So, appreciate you reaching out, brother. Going to get into your question here now. Derek, as always, you'll have the first 2 minutes to discuss it. Gentlemen, longtime listener, appreciate you taking my question. Going to go into the baseball realm here as the season starts. Wanted to go into the NL, particularly in the Central. So just to give our viewers, he didn't list them out, obviously, but just to give our viewers a quick overview of who is in the Central, we have the St. Louis Cardinals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Chicago Cubs. Does any NL Central team win 85 games this year? I'll hang up and listen. Jalen, I think that's a great question. No, it's not probably. They are the weakest division in Major League Baseball, so appreciate you sending that over. I think it's a very warranted question. Derek, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings?
That is so tough. It's just so fucked up to say. But I feel like they have to. There's no way that division doesn't have 85 wins, and then there's a division winner. I mean, like, obviously, like, I don't see a division winner having 85 wins.
Look.
Is he reiterate this question? Is he asking who?
No, he's asking if.
Oh, God.
So, look, to give some more additional context, last year the winner of the Central was Milwaukee. They had 93 wins.
Okay.
The second best team in the division had 83.
Oh, God.
There was a team in the MLB who made the playoffs with under 90 wins, and that was Houston. They only won 88.
Okay. I think yes, but I think it's by a slim. I think 87 wins. I'd say, and the team will probably be, because the best team out of that division is Milwaukee, probably. Actually, no. I'd say the Cubs. The Cubs with the 87 wins to take the division. But I don't see any more than 87.
Okay.
And if there is, shocked.
It's tough, right? Because this division is definitely the weakest division in baseball. So there's no, sidestepping that question. There's no, sugarcoating it. They're genuinely a weak team. That's just how it is. For context, I can't remember a team to my knowledge who won the division with less than 85 wins. There's been quite a few over the last few years who have won with less than 90. So that's definitely doable. I think the question may have been better. Does any team reach 90? And that, to me, I think no. 85, I would be hard-pressed to say that a division-winning team is not going to win at least 85 games. So I'm going to agree with you on this one, Derek. I do think the division winner does wind up winning 85 games this year. I'm going to go the Cubs to that regard as well. I'm also, it sucks to say, I'm also going to agree with you. I don't think they win 90, though. I think this is going to be another instance where a division winner is going to win less than 90 games. There's only going to be one playoff team from the division. I don't think Milwaukee makes it. I think the Cubs are genuinely a better team, especially with their offseason additions, particularly Kyle Tucker, who is one of the best outfielders in the game. They did have they had a few departures, such as like Cody Bellinger, but nothing too crazy. They're gonna have bounce back guys. Dansby Swanson had a really bad year last year. He's gonna bounce back. Nico Horner definitely gonna bounce back if he continues to stay healthy. They have a very good outfield now with Tucker and Suzuki. Their pitching staff continues to improve. So I think the Cubs are the winner here, and I think they do get above 85, but I'm going to go with Derek. I think they win less than 90. I'm not going to
any more than 90.
I'm not going to put an exact number on it like Derek, like 87, but I do think they win less than 90.
Which is so sad to say.
It's sad to say only because it's so tough because, one, their conference is so good, right? You can name their conference is so much better than the AL, so they're going to have tougher competition. But at the same time, their division sucks. And that's where you play the majority of the games, right? You play each team in your division 13 times. So who's to say they can't go 12-1 against Pittsburgh? 10-3 against Cincinnati. 9-4 against the Cardinals. So they could really rack up a lot of wins within their own division. So it's definitely possible that they even get above the 90. It will not even be close to 95 wins. That I'm putting out there. If it's 90 wins, it's literally going to be 90 wins.
No, I don't. Honest to God, I just don't see no more than 89. If anything, no more than 89.
It's that division is the poster boy for mediocrity.
Yes.
The Cubs are good. The Cubs are good. They got good. They got better. They definitely should be a division winner here. You can't rule out Milwaukee because they're always a stubborn team. They always make it to the playoffs with less than great players and just more or less baseball IQ. That doesn't go far. We've seen that. They continuously lose in the first round. However, you still can't count them out division-wise. I do think the Cubs take it. I think the Cubs get less than 90 wins, more than 85.
Okay, that's right.
That's where I'm going to go here. Obviously, appreciate the question, Jalen. I'm trying to find it online if there has been a division winner with less than 85 wins.
I don't think there has.
The better question would have probably been, do you think a team gets 90 wins? In that, I'm not discounting Jalen's question because he's 100% correct. This is the weakest division in baseball. There's no doubt about it. So I understand his way. And I just found it. The lowest win total for an MLB team that won their division was the 2005 Padres. They went 82-80.
What? And they won the division?
And they won the division.
I think you and me are that is insane. 82.
And this is not, and it's not, so I do want to preface this because I'm reading it as well. This is not unlikely that a team that comes out of this is a division winner. It's not like they're dead, right? There has been a team with less than 85 wins in a year to win their division and to win the World Series.
I gotta know what team is that.
It was the 06 Cardinals who went 83-78.
Oh, hell no.
So it's so I do want to preface it's possible.
What the fuck?
It's possible. That was the last team, by the way, to win with a division with less than 85 wins. So it is the St. Louis Cardinals, and they wound up winning the whole goddamn thing.
Well, let's just say this. They're not winning the fucking thing.
Do me and Derek think the Cubs or the Milwaukee Brewers are going to win the whole damn thing? Absolutely fucking not.
And you want to know what's funny? The last team to win was in that division.
It's crazy.
That is fucking insane.
It's crazy. I mean, they're not even close to the 06 St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh,
I mean,
fuck no.
We're not gonna discuss that, but
No.
Still, right? It's that I wanted to give some more perspective on Jalen's question because it is a very good question. I do. The whole premise is, yes, we think they get over 85 wins. They get over 90? Absolutely not. Hope that answered your question, Jalen. Really appreciate it. It was a thinker. It made us look up some stats, so we do appreciate that.
Yes.
Wanted to thank both of our people who submitted questions. Jalen, obviously, in New Jersey. And then we obviously had Brody within Minnesota. 2 lovely towns, 2 lovely states. So appreciate you guys asking us the questions and staying within the MLB format because it is opening day coming up on this Thursday. So we're trying to get in the spirit.
Yes. Baseball! Woo!
Woohoo!
Well, unfortunately, Dean, we do have to move on from baseball. And pretty much today, me and Dean have decided, before the podcast started, we're going to talk about our selected sport. Dean's selected sport that he's going to talk about, he's going to start off with, is el hockey. He's going to be talking about hockey. I'm going to be talking about basketball. But, because a lot of shit has gone on in their respective sports, but it's been overshadowed by March Madness, baseball, and all the other stuff that's been going on around the sports world. So, Dean, start off.
Yeah, just wanted to quickly discuss both NBA and NHL are coming to their close in their seasons, less than 15 games remaining for each respective sport. I think the NBA, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, most teams are down to 12 or 13 games
Yes, around
in
there.
the NBA. In the NHL, it's almost identical, around the same. So playoffs are right around the corner. With the NHL in particular, I wanted to just put on everybody's radar the wild card race, right? Within particularly within the Eastern Conference, there are, and I want to count it just to make sure, for the last wild card spot, there are one, two, three, four, five teams within 4 points of each other. You get 2 points per win in the NHL. Five teams within 4 points of each other for one last playoff spot. Electric. Electric stuff, right? All of these teams have some of the toughest schedules remaining in the NHL, particularly Montreal Canadiens, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the New York Islanders. They have three of the top 10 hardest remaining schedules in the NHL. So if you're going to make the playoffs, you better fucking earn it. You're going to earn it, which is awesome to see. Right as of right now, Montreal does hold the top spot with 75 points. They're one ahead of the redacted team that I said that I will not discuss for the remainder of the year. So they are 1 point ahead, but they do have games in hand, which is huge this time of year. Games in hand is just another way of saying they played less games, right? So they're ahead in the standings with playing less games, so they have more games remaining. That is a huge factor when you look at it coming down the stretch here. So, going to be fun to watch. I did want to give my prediction into it. The Ottawa Senators currently hold the number one wildcard spot at 79 points. I do think they hold on. They're playing really good hockey lately. I think they hold on and they hold that number one wildcard spot. I wanted to make my prediction on who I think is going to win the number two spot. And I'm actually going to go a little chalk here. I'm going to go in the Montreal Canadiens. They've been playing phenomenal hockey over the last two weeks around, right? Their last 10 games, they're 5-1-4, which doesn't sound great, but that's 5 wins in regulation, 4 losses in overtime. So you still get a point for those losses. So just to put in perspective, they're still playing hardcore hockey. They're still playing close hockey. I think it's going to come down to the wire between them and the New York Islanders, just based on how the points, based on how the schedules, based on how the games remaining are going. I do want to give shit to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They had this second spot locked up 2 weeks ago, and in their last 10 games, they are 2-7-1, and they have lost 6 in a row. That is not how you make the playoffs, Columbus. That's not how you do it.
That's horrible.
2 weeks ago, they were 5 points clear of a playoff spot. They were in the number one wild card spot ahead of Ottawa. And then you lose 6 in a row.
That's brutal.
You don't deserve to make the playoffs then.
No.
You're in the same realm as this shithole right here. So you know what? Go home, work on some shit, or alternatively, show some cojones, show a nice sack. You have 13 games remaining, Columbus. How about maybe you go out there and prove that these last 6 games were a fluke? Show a little something. Show a little heart. Because it's that time of year. If you don't show something now, you're never showing something. And that's just the fact of the matter. And I did want to update some people. The Blue Jackets and the Islanders are actually playing each other tonight. It is 3-3 going into overtime.
Lovely. And explain, obviously, in overtime in hockey, each team gets a point.
Each team gets a point. The winner of overtime and/or shootout gets that so lucrative second point.
Yes, very much.
So this is a huge game for both of them. The podcast will end before we decide a winner, unfortunately. So I apologize for even mentioning it. However, I did want to mention the wild card race. It is electric this time of year. Not for me particularly, right?
It's not over yet.
Go fuck yourself. We already discussed this last week. I'm not going to get into rage mode again. My prediction, the Montreal Canadiens will get the second spot. We'll see how it goes next week. We'll revisit this next week, Derek, when there are a few more games being played. We'll see who holds that spot then. Currently, I think the Islanders may hold it by the end of the week, which would be awesome as well. So that is my 5 minutes with Dean.
Good job, Dean. Very, very proud of you for doing your respective sport. And now it's on to me, my dumbass. First of all, I'm going to start with the NBA. I'm going to go a little bit back in time. Obviously, last week, the Lakers didn't have LeBron. They played there against Milwaukee. They didn't have LeBron. Didn't have... Sad. Didn't have Luka. Didn't have Hachimura. Didn't have Reeves. They had no one. They had pretty much the entire bench was playing. And you want to know who played? Mr. Bronny James. And everyone obviously said Bronny is not that good, doesn't belong in the NBA, this and that, stay in the G League, should have never got drafted. All these hating comments. Then the guy pulls out a 70% shooting percentage, 17 points, and I believe he was 2 for 5 from 3. I believe. I could be hard. I could be off by that. But for his first big game, 30 minutes, very impressive. Good job to the kid. Is he still subpar? Yes. Does he deserve a spot stay in the G League? Yes. Get better and do your thing. But moving on with the Lakers. LeBron just came back recently. He just came back 2 nights ago. And they did not do good. Not at all. I mean, I was not expecting the Lakers, who were hot with LeBron, Luka, Reeves, Hachimura, all of them being hot throughout the whole season. And me and Dean specifically were speaking very highly of them, saying that they were going to be the second seed, and then get blown out by like 20 against Chicago.
I believe, Derek, to move on to your point, they're 3-7 in their last 10 now.
Yes. And to be exact, they just concluded their game today to where they lost to Orlando. So it's not going good for Lakers country right now. It's actually pure sadness in Lakers country. Do I still think they're going to be a very good team in the playoffs? Yes. Because they have a very good team surrounded around them. And J.J. Redick seems to be a pretty good coach to where he'll fix this. But I'm going to move on from them, and I'm going to talk about the playoffs. So for the Eastern Conference, we have the 1 and 2 seed, I'd say, still close. It's between the Cleveland and Boston. It's a 5-game difference. So, in my opinion, I do think Cleveland is going to stay there, because Cleveland is the best, in my opinion, the best team in the East. And then, obviously, Boston, New York, Indiana, Milwaukee. And then a shocker. I think an absolute shocker. No one expected this. Without Jaden Ivey, the Detroit Pistons. No one expected them to be outside of the play-in. People expect them to maybe be in the play-in or even out of the playoffs. But Cade Cunningham has done a lot for them this year. And their coach has done a great job with all these young stars on their team. Is now the 6th seed and could potentially be the 5th seed. If a couple more there's a lot more games to play, and for all you know, they could jump to the 3 seed. They're 4 games behind the Knicks, because between the 2nd and the 3 seed, I think it's a 8-game difference. I think 1 and 2 are locked up, but everything else is to fight for. And I need to talk about the Miami Heat because I'm a Heat fan. I'm gonna have a little rage moment.
All right.
I'm very pissed off.
But before you get that, I just want to chime in a little bit. They're 1-9 in their last 10, but continue.
That's why I'm fucking pissed off. Oh, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Butler, he did good for us for the time being, and we had to get him. He wanted to go. He did not want to be in Miami anymore. He wanted to go to Golden State, or he wanted to go elsewhere. Fine. I did not expect us to trade him and be this fucking atrocious. Tyler Hero, who said he was in the press conference, oh, I'm 1A and I'm 1B, this and that. Fuck off. You're not even a letter, you motherfucker. You're not a number. You're not a letter. You're a 0. Adebayo is probably the best player on that team. Honestly, in my opinion, Adebayo is the best player on that team. Hero sucks monkey dick. Spoelstra, I don't know what the fuck he's doing right now. He has his head up his ass. Don't get me wrong, he's a great coach. I've witnessed most of the championships for the team, which I'm glad to say. But obviously that was the help of LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Ray Allen, Battier, everyone. But ever since then, it's just been kind of sadness. Just pure sadness. We get to a point, we shock everyone. We're like the 8th seed. We go to the finals, and then we get swept. It's pointless. Honestly, it's pointless. But being 1-9, don't get me wrong, it's not that we don't have the best squad. I can't say we do. Being 1-9 in the last 10 games is the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, if you go to the Western Conference and you go to Golden State, who acquired Jimmy Butler, I believe they're 15-1 since Jimmy Butler's joined the team, which is that I want to kill myself.
With Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry. Steph Curry missed the last few games.
Yeah, with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, 15-1, which is fucking insane. Yeah. Absolutely insane. Good for Golden State, but fuck you, Jimmy Butler. I hate you. I hope you get fined and sued from everyone in Florida.
I did want to add on your misery just a little, because I enjoy it. Even with Miami going 1-9, the sad part is they're probably still going to make the play-in.
Yeah, because Toronto is 5 games behind them.
It's horrible. Because Toronto and the 76ers behind them are just not good.
And I feel so bad for Toronto because there is a bunch of good stars on that team. But, like, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Scotty Barnes. Great team. And then everyone else, just donkey shit. It's fucking bad. And the thing is that what's going to happen, knowing my luck, is Miami's going to win. Miami's going to win. They're going to lock up the 8th seed. And then they're just going to get swept by Cleveland. It's just going to be brutal. But I don't want to talk about the East anymore because it's pissing me off. I'm going to go to the West. The West is actually good. I'm excited about the West because from the 2 to pretty much the 8, those can be interchangeable, in my opinion. So we have Houston with 46 wins, and they're the 2 seed. Then we go all the way down to the 8 seed, Minnesota, who has 41 wins. That's only a 7 game difference. Which in the NBA, it's very possible to lose 7 games, as you see with the Miami Heat. That's very interchangeable. Do I think Houston will stay in that? No. They're a very good young team, but also it's not good to see when Nikola Jokic is on fire and the Nuggets are on fire. So they look unstoppable like they've been in the past couple of years. So I do think that the Nuggets will climb up to the 2nd seed, and I do think the Lakers will fall to the 6th seed. Because from what I've seen the past couple of weeks, and from what I've seen from other teams, which I believe, as you said, Stephen Curry, he's out for, I think, 1 to 2 weeks.
Yep.
Which is almost towards the end of the season.
Yeah, they're going on to a road trip now, and they said that Curry will be traveling with the team on the road trip. They expect him back within the next 2 to 3 games.
So, I think in that time, Golden State could jump over the Lakers. From what I've seen out of the Lakers and what I've seen out of Golden State, I see Golden State jumping over them, but anything's possible. Injuries could happen, like Luka could break his fucking leg or some stupid shit like that. A bunch of shit can happen in the NBA, but towards the end, this is when it gets down to the nitty-gritty. All the games matter. The Phoenix Suns could sneak into the play-in. They could get the 10th spot, which at the 10th spot's Dallas, which I'm shocked they're even there. Honestly, no AD. They're on the verge of forfeiting games.
AD is back tonight, by the way.
Didn't know that. He's probably going to. So, AD, first game back. I don't know how he's going to do. We could potentially speak about the next podcast if he has a good game. Or if, God forbid, he gets hurt again.
If you want, I could give you how he's doing right now.
Yes. Please give me that.
27 minutes. So, actually played a lot. 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Not bad. Not a bad game.
Yeah. For a first game back after being out for what? 2 months?
A month and a half, almost 2 months, yeah.
Yeah, so not horrible. He'll obviously have more minutes going into the next couple of games, because it's the play-in, which, mind you, I think is the stupidest thing in the world. There should not be a fucking play-in tournament. It should only be 1 to 8, not 1 to 10. That's the dumbest shit in the world. But that's a different story for a different day. That's when the playoff comes around. We talk about this. But though that play-in spot is to fight for. There's a lot of team. There's 2 more teams left. Portland and Phoenix, who are outside at the 11 and 12, who can sneak in. But I'd say, in my opinion, San Antonio will get eliminated soon because it's going to be hard for them to bounce back because they have to climb around 4 games from a team who just got back AD. So it's going to be very tough for them. But overall consensus with the NBA, it's getting to the point to where it's down to the nitty-gritty. All games matter, as for the NHL. Same thing. So tune in, watch LeBron suck, because fuck LeBron, and watch the Miami Heat suck. And to be in fact, because I don't want Dean to be happy, watch the Knicks suck.
Naturally.
And might I add, I have a question for you. Is Jalen Brunson coming back soon? Do you know?
So his original timeline was 2 to 3 weeks, and if I'm being completely honest with you, if I'm the Knicks, I err on the side of absolute caution because these last 3 weeks of the regular season do not matter in the absolute slightest. So who gives a rat's ass when he comes back? If he's 99% tomorrow, I would hold him out another week until he's 100%.
Jesus Christ.
Because without him, you don't even have a chance of sniffing a win at all against Boston or Cleveland.
That's fair.
So you need him 100% healthy. Absolutely do not rush him back. The regular season is whatever at this point. So prioritize his health. When he comes back, he comes back. You know he's going to be good. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Well, that is my 5 minutes with Derek speaking about the NBA.
Woo!
Dean, do you have anything you want to talk about in my respective sport, or are you good?
No, I'm gonna let you stick with you.
All right, I appreciate it. Well, that concludes our mini segments for our respective sports. But we're gonna go on to the best segment, unless you have something.
Oh, okay.
Do you have anything that you want to talk about in the sports world or bring it up that's on your mind?
Next week we will be discussing tennis, so get ready, everybody.
Fuck out of here.
There have been 2 really good tournaments that will be completed by next week. One, Indian Wells, finished up. And then this week there has been the Miami Open, which is going on. These are basically warm-up tournaments for the next big major. So we will be discussing them, Derek. Understand?
All right, if we speak about tennis one week, then we will speak about golf. I don't know. It's either golf or soccer. Pick your poison.
I would rather talk about soccer and how the U.S. men's team sucks every day of the week than golf.
All right, we'll talk about soccer.
We'll discuss that next week as well.
Okay, we'll speak about that next week. But,
Perfect.
Dean, let's go to our happiness. Do it.
Player of the week!
It's pretty good. Pretty good. Not much.
Not bad, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. I think I've gone first the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to let you go first this week, if you don't mind.
I do not mind, but I need 1 second. Well, since that Dean has gone first, because I forced him to go first the past couple weeks, I'm going to go first. And I'm going to go with... I think in the past month, I've went with this platform in a way. I've went towards like streamers or like social media influencers a lot recently. But there's one person who I do want to speak about who has, because I grew up watching him. I don't know if some people are watching or grew up watching him, and this is why he's the bar of the week, is Phase Adapt. The reason why I'm giving him the bar of the week is because most stars who come up around 2014, they have one prime. They have their prime in the YouTube stage when they're young. They did obviously Phase. They did their little trick shots. Every kid watched it. They did all their little stupid shit. And even when they did their vlogs or whatever the fuck they did, everyone watched it because they always thought of them as entertaining and a group that were funny to watch.
Yep.
So, seeing a guy, mind you, no shade towards his age, 31 years old, who's started his career at 17. In the span of 14 years, he's still pretty fucking relevant. He disappeared for 2 years or a couple of years from social media and everything because of stuff that was going on in his career and life. So he stayed away from social media. But seeing
Yep.
a creator like him having what most people are saying 2 primes is impressive. He had a prime with YouTube where he had obviously his million subscribers, and now he's killing it on Twitch with I think as we speak 11,000 subs on Twitch, which if you want to be pocket watching, it's a good amount of money you're making a month. So, it's not even about money for him. It's all about the entertainment and him doing with all of his friends and all the people and even his fans, because he always cared about his fans. So I just want to give props to him for not giving up on the craft that he's always loved, and just respect to him.
Okay. Your baller of the week. Woo!
Woo! Yeah.
Cool. So appreciate Derek going first there and doing his baller of the week. I have a unique baller of the week this week. It's two people, actually, and more or less an organization as well, if that makes sense. It'll make sense in a second, I promise. So I'm going to go completely out of the sports world, completely into a combination of a couple of things. It's actually it's more or less probably in the government world.
I'm scared.
If you look at it this way, okay? I'm going to give my ball of the week to two people first and foremost. Their names, Barry Wilmore and Sunita Williams. Now, that probably means absolutely nothing to you, Derek, and it probably means absolutely nothing to a lot of people who are just listening to the names come out of my mouth. These two people were astronauts who were originally going to be sent up into space in the International Space Station for 10 days, and it turned into 9 months. They just came home this past week, so I want to give them a lot of props for working with the flows, getting absolutely railroaded for staying in space for 9 more months than they should have. And I also want to give props to my other co-baller of the week, SpaceX, and this administration, which made it a priority to go up there and get them, because it's been far too long, especially when you only prepare for a couple of weeks in space and it turns into 9 months. Their families missed them, their friends missed them. This was a huge deal for space travel in general, to not have astronauts stranded out just orbiting Earth nonstop. So I wanted to give a lot of props to SpaceX and Elon Musk in particular, who built a space capsule in order to go up there and get them from the space station. Wanted to give this administration its props for prioritizing this in their first few months of being within office. And I wanted to obviously give a huge shout out to these two unbelievable astronauts who dealt with the adversity, dealt with all the bullshit and staying up there, and they're finally back home safe and sound. So those two in particular are my baller of the weeks.
I like it. I respect it. And I obviously, because it was huge, this was huge on the news. And this another like crazy stat is that, correct me if I'm wrong, they only made $5 for every extra day they stayed there.
Yep. So one of the big things that people were saying was, this was a lot of quote unquote overtime.
Yeah.
Because they were never meant to stay up there. So this administration, there's been a lot of talks about it. Obviously don't want to get political at all, but President Donald Trump did say that he will be funding their overtime out, if it doesn't get passed, out of his own pocket. So it's just more or less a respect thing. This is obviously a malpractice of space, especially when we are trying to prioritize, going to Mars, right? Going back to the moon, exercising our space travel in order to really expand our humanity. So this was a big thing in showing the public that yes, we have the rockets. Yes, we have the technology. Yes, we have the capability to go up here and do this stuff. So this was on all over the news. This was in prime time, and I'm glad everything went well. They came back perfectly unharmed. And if you go watch the video online, which I recommend everybody does, how it works is they drop down in a capsule into the ocean. They had unexpected arrivals come and greet them. There was a pack of dolphins who were swimming by their capsule as they were exiting into, don't quote me, it's either the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean.
That's cool.
So, huge win for space travel in general, but I did want to point out my ball of the weeks, Barry Wilmore, Sunita Williams. Welcome home.
That's a good ball of the week. Very wholesome, Dean. Very, very wholesome. Which is shocking from you. After
Hey, I have a heart. I do.
it's like this big.
Hey, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. That's a very wholesome ball of the week. Good ball of the week. I was not expecting you, out of all people, to do that. Because I know like it's a big thing to happen in the world. But I was expecting more sports from you today. I honestly was expecting something from tennis. But, hey, you want to talk about tennis next week? We'll talk about tennis next week. But obviously, respect to the two astronauts who were there for 9 months when we're only supposed to be there for 10 days. So all power to them. And I hope that they do get treated with the funds that they deserve for that extensive amount of overtime.
Yeah, you're telling me.
That's a lot of overtime. But that concludes Bar of the Week.
Thank you to everybody.
And unfortunately, guys, this is the end of the podcast. We're done for today. There's nothing else we could talk about unless Dean has anything on his mind. Any little
No, I did just want to reemphasize we will be touching a little bit about soccer next week, particularly the U.S. men's team, which choked heavily this past week. We'll talk about it. They continue to suck dick. And then we'll also talk about tennis because a major tournament is coming up, which we will get into next week, but there have been 2 workup tournaments, and I wanted to talk about some of the players that have been coming up in this. So, yes, we're going to get into 2 different sports next week. We're going to continue to talk about the initial reactions of MLB starting. We're going to talk about the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 of March Madness. Should be a fun one next week.
Yeah, it should be very fun. And to see how wrong me or Dean are next week.
Most likely this guy.
Yeah, why did the guy start off with you first? But that does conclude it. Everyone, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok, Instagram. I'm going to start something. I'm going to create an X account and start.
No, we won't.
I'll create an X. Well, I'm running it, so I'm creating an X account.
Give it at least 2-3 months, everybody.
Okay. Shut the fuck up. Going to create an X account. Obviously, Spotify will be up and running. It is up and running, but all we need is more of the files to throw in so everyone can catch up on all the new podcasts. But that's up to the editor. Not on me.
Oh.
Editor. But like, subscribe, follow, and everyone, hope you enjoy. Peace.